So, welcome to Traction to Action. I am Viola Jackson. Today is Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. And I am super excited that I get to share with you my special guest who also happens to be one of my coach trainers. So, I am really, really excited about sharing her with you today. Before I bring her on, I just want to let you know that we have a Facebook group called Transformational Coaching for Millennial Leaders. And if you at any point in time during this live want to join the group, please just type transform in the comments and I will get the link to you as soon as we are done recording today. And I'm just looking forward to welcoming you to our group. And I want to just invite you to put any questions that you might have in the comments, and I'll do my best to have Kathy or myself respond to those as we can throughout the live today. And I am just really excited to share this really awesome lady with you. So let me just tell you a little bit about her before I bring you on, Kathy. So Kathy has been serving for 12, or she served for 12 years in various ministries, first with college and career ministries through her local church. She also served with Youth for Christ Ministries as a volunteer. And most recently, she's been doing cross-cultural missions in over 30 countries, you guys. So says this lady gets around. And she's been doing that for the last 20 plus years. She is an associate certified coach, which means she's put in work as a coach. That's a huge accomplishment. For those of you that are coaches, you understand that that's a pretty awesome accomplishment. And she is certified through the International Coach Federation, ICF. She's been coaching since her initial coach training in 2009. So she's celebrating like close to 11, almost 12 years of coaching. So she's someone I consider personally a veteran coach. She's somebody that I personally look up to and admire as someone I want to emulate as a coach. And she's been an amazing trainer and model for me personally. She does do actually coach training and trains, like I said, other coaches like myself. And Kathy is I just want to say on a personal, that's her professional accomplishments, but on a personal level, Kathy was the first person that I connected with when I signed up, when I was thinking about signing up for Coaching Mission International. She was the face to me of Coaching Mission International. She was my first impression, and she really had a whole lot to do because there's lots of different organizations that do coach training. And so you really have to be selective. If for those of you that might even be thinking about becoming a coach, you got to do your research, do your homework. And she sealed the deal for me just in her love for people, her willingness to answer my plethora of questions. And yeah, she prayed for me through the process as well. And she just never misses an opportunity to connect with people because she knows that, you know, whether it's one person at a time or a group at a time, she's making an impact for the kingdom. And so that's her heartbeat, that's her passion. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask you to come on, Kathy. And I am
Hi,
just,
Viola.
hi, I am so excited. And whenever I do this, Kathy, I really have to work hard to contain my excitement because it could just.
I love it. I love that it exudes from you.
It does. And sometimes I have to try, and they say don't hide it under a bushel or whatever, but
That's
sometimes
right.
I feel like I need to tone down.
You be you. You be you, Viola.
I will do that. So,
We can all be extra, right?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for just saying yes and for your willingness to be here. And I think we're going to just dive in. Um,
Great.
I want you to just, first of all, just introduce. I said a lot about you, but is there anything else that I need to add that you want people to know about you before we get started?
Well, I guess the one piece that's really important to me is that I've been doing cross-cultural missions for 21 years. Um, Youth with a Mission is who I worked with for most of those years, and still am working with some. I train a lot of people from there. So, but yeah, that's a really important thing to me, and what I do in my life. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And that's perfect, because you have encountered in your life and you've coached people from all walks of life. And that's one of the things that really excites me about having you here. It's just your exposure, Kathy, to the world, and to
Mm.
people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all cultures, languages, all parts of society. And so that makes you extra in my book, um, because it gives you such a different perspective. And so, just curious to know, Kathy, do you feel drawn out of the whole world of people? Is there a specific niche that you feel drawn to, or a specific audience that just is drawn to you in the midst of all those people?
Yeah, well, I love that you have a heart for millennials, because I have a heart for millennials as well. I mean, I have a heart for all people, but
Sure.
I think that oftentimes I'm drawn to that millennial group that just has such a entrepreneurial spirit, and in most countries that I go to, those are the ones who I really usually um, connect with, or they're drawn to me, or I'm kind of drawn to them, and then asking them questions and things. So for sure, that's one of my highlight groups.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome that we share that in common. And yeah, tell me a little bit more. What is it what else about millennials attract you? You mentioned the entrepreneurial spirit.
I think I was thinking about that earlier, and I was kind of going through in my mind, like, the groups when I'm on the field, especially when a lot of times when I'm in other countries, that I love their how do I say, they're not afraid to come towards you, and they oftentimes will ask questions, or see if they can interview you, or I think I've been interviewed in many countries by millennials, and by that kind of age group that wants to ask more questions about my culture, or even just things that I think about their culture. And so I love their approachability, I guess, is how I would say it.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I find that too. And I'm not going to ask you to reveal your age unless you're comfortable with that. But I think of you as a millennial, so I don't know if I'm right or not. But
Yeah, I am a millennial in my heart through and through. However, I
we'll leave
am
it there.
not a millennial.
No,
I'm more of a Gen Zer.
are you?
Or, I mean, sorry, not a Gen Z. I'm a Gen X. Sorry, I'm Gen X. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Not age is just a number, right? And like you said, it's what's in our
exactly.
heart. Um, but so how do you think that, like someone like myself as a baby boomer, I'm right on the cusp though.
Uh-huh.
but but how do you feel we can be of service to millennials, or how can we
Mm.
work together in the generations?
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously I'm a life coach, and you've shared that, and you've been trained to be a life coach, and I think a lot of times with millennials, they're very experiential, And so they want to experience it for themselves. They want to, they're not opposed to asking for input, but they really do want to discover for themselves a lot. And I think as a coach, coming alongside of them and helping them to discover what's inside of them or what they're, you know, I would listen to your, last week's with Drew, and I love Drew. Drew, you know, I got to be one of Drew's one. I got to train Drew actually, and so what I love is that what he said was that, you know, they want to they don't want to be stuck in a job that they're not called to. They don't want to do things that they're not sensing that their God is calling them to. And I feel like with coaching, I'm able to help millennials and others to discover what is their calling in life. What is it that they really, what's really inside of them, and just walking them through a discovery of that. And I love being able to do that with them. I think it's important to, I think that's an important piece. I think, you know, you could tell people what to do, but most of the time when you tell a person what to do, especially millennials, that is not, that's pretty much the end of the conversation. And so I think being open and really sitting and just listening and sharing stories and sharing experiences in life, I think that's I think that's where they come alive, and how you can really, walk with a millennial and see their dreams come true.
Oh, I really love that. I love that. And what I hear in everything that you just said is that as coaches, we have an opportunity to help them discover who they are, discover what's inside of them, and help that come alive. And that leads to them being able to fulfill their maximize their potential that's inside of them.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Viola, one of the things that a couple of weeks ago, I was scrolling my Facebook page, and I saw this sentence, and I wrote it down because I felt like it described exactly how I want to live and what I almost even like what I'm called to do. And the sentence was called to awaken kingdom purpose.
Wow.
And I feel like it's almost like my life sentence, you know. I could find a verse that would go along with that for sure. But I believe that I'm called to awaken kingdom purpose in all people. But oftentimes I'm drawn to the millennials to be able to do that for them, help them do that in their life.
So unpack that a little bit for me. Call to awaken kingdom purpose. What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, I think a lot of times we can talk about calling, and we can talk about what people are skilled and gifted to do. Maybe it's, you know, maybe it's something that they've learned, or maybe it's something that was kind of in them. And I feel like one of the things that I don't want to miss out on, I could call somebody to I could help somebody walk. I could walk alongside somebody as a coach and help them to discover their purpose or discover their calling. But I feel like there's one step further that maybe God is asking me to do, is to really help awaken that kingdom purpose. So even asking more of those transformational questions that will draw out a kingdom purpose in them, that takes this deeper than what it is. You know, it's like we can go along in our lives and be, you know, live in neighborhoods or go to jobs and do great at those things. But as believers, we are called to a greater thing of calling out kingdom purpose, that when we go to work, that we live toward the kingdom of God, right? And so when we are walking alongside these individuals, millennials, or anybody else that we're calling out purpose in, that we go deeper into what is the kingdom purpose in this. So when you're at work, what is it that God is asking you to do while you're there with the people around you? How do you live on purpose? How do you live on kingdom purpose, if you will? So I think it's deeper. Yeah.
Wow. I feel
Yeah.
that, Kathy, and I really appreciate what you're sharing because as I'm listening to you, for whatever reason I'm getting this picture of a circle where it doesn't end and it doesn't start. It's just
Mhm.
it's connected, and it's kind of like going 360. How many people, maybe go to college, get a degree in X, Y, or Z, then go out into the world, or, follow a vision or a dream or what have you, um, and find themselves in things that, like you just said, they can be even successful, have achievement to a certain degree, but maybe haven't real maybe they're doing that out of a skill set that they just happen to be really good at.
Mhm.
It makes them money, it provides for their needs, what have you, right? A lot of people graduate with a degree in whatever and pursue a job in whatever, and maybe all the while haven't tapped into that that like you said, that deeper calling, that thing that they
Mhm.
were actually born for and
Mhm.
created for. And they might be like touching on it here and there in different ways and at different times in their life, but just really never pinpointed it, never nailed it, never
Mm.
discovered it. And so what I hear you saying is that there is something deeper.
Yes.
And when those two things connect, like when the person that you're coaching actually discovers, oh my goodness, this is it. This is why I was
Mhm.
born.
Mhm.
Am I kind of tracking with what you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think that's, that's been true for most of my life. You know, I, um, way back, a while, I think when you were talking about, you shared a little bit of my history as far as in working with youth. I was working with youth ministries and then college and career, and then, went on to work with Youth for Christ, and then went on to work with Youth with a Mission. I don't know. There's a theme there I'm hearing, right? And so, and it's funny how, I think the one thing I remember teaching in Youth with a Mission was destiny by design, and
Mm,
just really helping people to discover what is what are they designed to do? What is it,
mhm,
and really walking through those steps of, even as you've learned in life coaching through Coaching Mission International, in the life purpose and calling thing, talking about what's been their journey,
mhm,
where have they journeyed that has drawn and is showing, kind of bringing things to the surface that are really what they love, what they're passionate about,
mm,
um, what they have a sense that God has put in them to go and do. And
mhm,
I love being able to draw that out of people,
mm.
through coaching and yeah, through coaching, really. I think
Yeah.
that's been the best way to do it as far as I've seen at this point. Yeah.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I just hope for those of you that are listening, because I know that we are all, after 2020, there's so many people that are in that reshuffling season of
Mhm.
their life, transitional season of life. A lot of you that are listening are right now saying, oh my goodness, this is so good to hear, because you are, um, making big decisions about what's next or how to move forward, or what do I do with what I have, and this is a great time, I think, for people to really invest in themselves, the time, the energy, the resources to make that discovery,
Mm.
especially if you fall in that category of, I just did this because I had to pay back my student loans and I just moved
There you go.
forward with the next best thing. This is such a great time to do this kind of self-discovery that Kathy is talking about. So Kathy, I have two questions for you. Can you remember um kind of that moment in your own life when you kind of came 360 and discovered, this is really who I am, and this is, and you mentioned the tagline earlier, but like, can you share a little bit about when that happened for you and what that was like?
Yeah, I when as soon as you said that, the first thing that came to my mind, and maybe I'll just go there, is, when um when I went to India, I took a trip. I took a trip with a group of people that were going to India to do a kind of a crusade type of thing, and I thought, this is just a 2-week trip. I love it. I'm sure it's going to be a cultural experience, which I'd never left my country before, and except to go to Canada. And so when I arrived there, I was very much in culture shock, and I really was trying to figure out a way to leave. I didn't want to stay, and a lot of times when you're in that place of like trying to move away from maybe where God has you, it's usually if you stay, you're going to usually know, it's usually like you're about to collide with something that God is really wanting you to see or to grow in or something like that. And so I, obviously I stayed. My team was very helpful in that. And when there was a moment there when we were, I think it was the day we went into this orphanage, and it was really interesting. We were doing crusade stuff, but we were also going out into the villages and sharing and just loving on people. And I was in an orphanage, and I have this picture even, but I sat down, and it was just cold, kind of cold. There were just stone floor, tile floor and brick walls. And I remember sitting there, and I think we were about to have a meal together with these little kids. And this little boy came over and he sat right beside me, and he put his hand on my leg, and he was probably all but like, I don't know, maybe 4, I'm thinking, put his hand on my leg. And I think, it's funny that that's coming back to my mind, but I think there was a moment there where I was like, I want to see people come to know Jesus, first of all, but also come to know how they can live differently. What does that look like for this little boy that put his hand on my leg? And what does it look like for all the kids in the neighborhood that want to touch my hair as I walk through, or, touch my skin because it was I'm so pale complected. But what about them drew them to me, and how could I help them to discover who they're called to be, and move out of maybe poverty or the mentality of poverty even, and to live a life that's fulfilled. And obviously as I said earlier, my first thing is that they know Jesus, because then that's a life of fulfillment. But then even walking further in that and saying, okay, now how do I empower them to be able to do more and more and more? And I left there knowing that I was called to missions. I knew that I was called to the nations, that I wasn't just called to one place. And and that I was to bring to the world what I had in my hands at that point in time, which I didn't think it was much, and here I am 21 years later, and God just continues to put more and more tools and more equipment and more things and more ways to be able to go out and touch people's lives. And I think that's when it hit me, was I was in the midst of being there, and then he spoke and just kind of was like, keep going. This is what I have you. This is where I want you to be. I want you to go and bring life to these places. I want you to bring me to these places. And I'm calling you to it. And I'm gonna give you what you need as you go. So let's go. And so that was probably the beginning of it for me, Vi.
Wow, that gives me chills, Kathy. It really gives me chills. And I'm going to tell you why, because as I'm listening, and totally visual. So I'm seeing this little boy sitting next to you, putting his hand on your leg. And what I love about that story is that what was in your heart for that little boy and many more people to come after him was you valuing people, the value that you placed on another human being's life, and not just stopping there at valuing people, but actually seeing the potential for every person and desiring that for every person, having a desire and a belief that regardless of the external circumstances, because I know, I hear people that have been to India and they talk about the poverty as being one of the things that stands out, you know. But in that moment, based on the way you just described that, that did not um, limit your ability to see that little boy in
Mm-hmm.
his fullness.
No, not at all.
Like the sky wasn't even his limit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just knowing you as my trainer, I know you've carried that for me, which is amazing. So I want to just use that as a opportunity to put a plug in for coaching in general. That is one of the things that coaches can offer people like no other profession I know. Well, I mean, I don't say not like no other because teachers do it. A lot of people do
Sure.
it. But I think we have an extra advantage in that we can work with somebody from a very non-judgmental place, um, and we just, all of us tend to have that just extra bent for being able to see people's full potential regardless of X, Y, or Z, you
Mm.
know? And so that just really excites me. And it just reminds me that I got trained by you. So I know I've got good seed on the inside of me. So that excites me. So specifically coaching, that was an experience that transformed your life. But in terms of you being coached, because you had to have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
coaching in order to become a coach and a coach trainer
Mm-hmm.
yourself. So can you share a story maybe where, you had a coaching experience where you were being coached and it brought transformation to you?
Mm. Well, gosh, there's so many of them. When you begin to be trained as a coach, you get your own personal coach. And, I had no idea when I began this coach training that and began to be coached, that God was going to stir more in me. I had no intentions of I don't think I was looking to start really going long term on coaching. You know what I mean? Like, this was it. And I think in the midst of my own personal coaching and receiving that and having a coach that really asked me questions that, I mean, how great is it, Viola, to go into know that you're going to meet with somebody and it's great and strange all at the same time, but it's all about you, right? And you're just kind of like, okay, this is all about, it's kind of like, okay, I like that. I don't like that. Right. And so I think when I was being coached, recognizing that this person was going to ask me questions that would draw things out of me that I had no idea were in me. And that's kind of what happened. It was like, I'm in this training to get training so that I can, kind of, use it for sure. But I didn't think quite as much as I am now. And who knew I was going to train people too. But in the midst of the time of coaching and walking, my coach walking with me through that process, I started discovering my own life calling, and solidifying, I guess you could say, not necessarily discovering it, but really solidifying it, because my coach was asking me questions that really caused me to go and think a little bit deeper about what it is that I want to continue to do with my life for the rest of my life. In some ways, I'm I don't have this retirement thing in my head. I believe I'm gonna, I'll be walking along, and that's when I'll just kind of, it'll be like, just kind of, he's gonna take me up, like, what was that, Elijah? But so I think in the midst of my coaching, that's when I discovered that I really wanted to use coaching to continue to do what I'm already doing, but to really bring greater impact to that. And it's funny when you're being coached, and one of the things that you kind of, stories start to come to your mind, or people start to come to your mind of maybe that have impacted you and impacted what you're feeling like you're called to do. And I always, I always have a story about when I after that 2-week trip to India, I eventually went there and lived for a little bit, like for about 9 months I was there. And I remember going and meeting up with other missionaries that were there. And one of the things that I discovered, sadly, was that a lot of them just didn't have any life in them anymore. And were kind of just, I was all excited about what they were doing, but they weren't excited about what they were doing anymore. And so I saw something I wasn't really sure about then, and I wasn't really equipped or to know what to do at that point. I was just, and I saw a lot of that on the field. I saw a lot of people who were probably in transition in their mind, but their bodies didn't know they were in transition of moving into different things. And so when I began to receive coaching, my coach began to draw that out of me, those things that I didn't really even know I was passionate about. I didn't remember, I would never have remembered this. I remember one guy in particular and his wife that I met. And I don't even remember their names at this point, but I just remember that they just did not have life and weren't living, thriving, and they were just kind of barely surviving. And when I was being coached, this came to my mind. And that's when I started rethinking and kind of recalculating my calling and my purpose of being called to missionaries and ministry leaders and things of that sort. So how am I going to be able to do this far into the future? And how am I going to be able to go to the field and be able to reach down and help pull somebody out of the mud and without getting pulled right back into the mud, right? And so with them. And that's when I knew that I was to begin to, when I'm out, I'm to begin to coach people, encourage them, strengthen them, equip them, whatever it is that I have in my hands, that's what I was called to do. And so I hope that answered your question, but I mean, it's kind of a roundabout way, but I see pictures, I remember stories and things like that. And that's what my coach was able to draw out of me that helped me to keep going and to rediscover what my purpose was, my kingdom purpose.
Yeah. And that's, and you may have felt like it was roundabout, but I felt like it was right on point, because what I hear is that by you taking the time out of your life and investing in yourself and allowing yourself to be coached, you were able to capture, if I can say it that way, the essence of who you are and who you called to be. And that served you and continues to serve you to really be able to do what you do with excellence, to like really be able to empower people. You, of course, you've got tools in your tool belt and all those things, but I think the impetus behind the power, if I can say it that way, that power source is, that's what you were created and designed and born to do. And everything, through the coaching, it's like that convergence of, not only was I born to do this, but my personality is shaped to do this. My skill set is shaped to do this. The experiences that I've had in my life, all arrows lead to, this is who I am and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't know about you, Kathy, but when you get that crystal clear clarity that you just know that you wake up in the morning differently.
For sure. Yes.
You're ready.
Nobody has to pull you out of bed. You get up running.
Running, ready to go. Even on the hard days, there's just something. And so then, juxtaposed to the people that you are serving and helping, that you describe, that are, lifeless, going through the motions, in that place of uncertainty, transition, that are out on the field, maybe burned out, whatever is going on in each individual's life, right? Because
Yeah.
it could be that they're outside of their calling. Maybe
Hmm.
somebody told them they should be a missionary and they should be in the marketplace, for goodness sake.
Yes, for sure. I love that. Yes.
But coaches can come alongside, and it's never too late to discover who you really are. And I love,
Hmm.
this is going to date me when I say this, but there used to be this show, Will the Real Person Please Stand Up? I forget what the name of it was, but they would have like three people on this panel, and the guy would ask all these questions, and the audience is trying to figure out who's the real Kathy, which one is the
Uh-huh.
real Kathy. And then
Uh-huh.
at the end he said, will the real Kathy please stand up, you know?
I love it.
Or
To
more
tell the
power.
truth.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that's, such a picture
Mm,
of what coaching, how coaching can transform a person's life,
mm-hmm.
in a
Yeah.
really powerful way. So I love that. Thank you for sharing, um,
Yeah.
just how you've been transformed. Do you have any stories that you'd like to share with us of people that you've coached that you've seen? And you can't use me because I know I was like ultra transformed. Like woof, it's like I'm a whole nother person because of coaching. But
Mm,
you could use me if you want to. But
yeah.
anybody that comes to mind that you're just like,
Well, it's interesting. I probably have, coaching, definitely. I've seen people who've walked through coaching and who I've coached. And, I think about, obviously, my focus is missions. And so that's oftentimes where I go, is with these young missionaries usually, and millennial missionaries, if you will. And just how being able to, I'm trying to think of one person in particular that maybe I've seen. Um, yeah, I mean, I have quite a few that go through my head, but just those who I've seen come through, even training, and who they come into a coaching call, and they've got a goal in mind, and that when they're I do have a story. It just popped up in my head. One of these stories, it's an interesting one. I was coaching a person once, and I remember it was somebody in a training, and I happened to be coaching them, and they 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 were wanting to create a coaching business. And so one of the things that they asked me to coach them on, one of the times, was they wanted to coach around creating an office for themselves. And honestly, Viola, when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, this is going to be kind of very practical, right? And so as we're beginning through the process of coaching through this, creating a coaching office for themselves, of going through we went through all of it, where they even got their paint color, and they took a picture, and and so, I'm good. If this is where they want to go, there's obviously something that God's got in it. And they happened to be working with a church, and so that was part of what they were going to be able to do, is coach people from there. And so, they created this space, and they had this chair in the corner, and the chair, and we talked about this chair. They were creating space for even time in that office for Jesus, and that chair was going to be where they could go and sit and just have time with Jesus, reading or whatever. And so they sent me a picture of the office, and we got to maybe our second to our last coaching session. And I said, so how is this office space? I'm excited. When I'm coaching somebody, I'm right in there with them. I'm like, I'm actually sitting in their office probably, right? And so I'm totally excited about the situation. And all of a sudden they said, it's okay. And I was like, wait, what is going on? This place is beautiful. How, and they said, and what happened was, the space that they created for Jesus, they realized it had been a long time since they had spent time with Jesus, and that was really drawing them to him. And talk about, I dove right in there. I began to coach that situation. I coached the heart. I talked, we processed through that. And that's when I saw this transformation happen in this person's life. That it wasn't about this office space so much. It was about creating this space that she could meet with Jesus. And that was just kind of one of those, I had no expectations on that one whatsoever. I did not know it was coming. And when it did, it was like, I saw that person's life shift to where they began to coach people because of their love for Jesus and their love for people, not necessarily just because they wanted to start a business anymore. And although the business happened in the midst of that, now the longevity of that was going to be much longer than ever, right? So, but yeah, I think that's one of my stories. But it's true though too. When I watch, it's like with you, Vi, when we see people who come through the training, even I get to see. I mean, I get to coach one person, but when people come to the training, I get to see like 18 to 24 at a time who are in a transformation of their life, which it's not always known. I mean, it's not like there's no preconceptions about it. It's not like everybody's going to come in and be transformed. That's what we're here for. No, we're here to equip and help bring strength and encourage and equip people to grow in their coaching skills so that they can go and do what they do better, more excellent, and things like that. And just like yourself, I remember our first conversation, and you were like asking me all kinds of questions, and like kind of, like, is this really, going to work? Is this really, what am I going to do with this later? And how's this going to, and you came to the on-site, and, we went through the first phase of classes, and then you came to the on-site. And I love the on-sites because we get to meet face to face, right? And we get to really kind of see where people are. And and I'm using you because you're right here, right? It's so, and I watched how you began your first day, and you're alive, you're alive in it. But by the middle, like by Wednesday or Thursday, you were like, oh man, I know what I'm going to do now. And I think I saw you hit that full speed ahead button. And I don't think I saw you stop until, well, I don't think you've ever stopped. So it's kept going. And you went through your 2 years, and here you are impacting many, many people. But even just through this ministry that you started with transforming, say it for me.
Millennial leaders, transformational coaching for millennial leaders.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. My mouth is not going to let it get out. But really seeing that's like the paycheck, that's like, seeing people continue to do what they do so well, but with being able to do it even on a greater level, and having the courage to go on and even just start your own. Like, did you really think in the beginning you were going to start your own?
Well, God told me I was, but did I think it? Yeah, like thinking it and hearing it are different. So exactly. I knew it was what I was supposed to do. Now, how it was all going to happen was just, that was a whole nother story. Yeah. So, but I did know that that's what I was supposed to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I had to grow into the shoes. You know how a kid will put his foot in his dad's shoe, like size 13, and his foot is like a size 1.
Exactly.
That's kind of how it felt. Yeah.
And I think that's what I see with people I coach and people that I get to help train in coaching, even, is that I watch them go from that size 2 to the size 13 shoe of being and feeling even comfortable to put their foot in there and to begin what they're doing, or to continue what they're doing, or to pivot what they're doing. That's a brave thing to transition your ministry or your mission call and pivot into something that you have maybe rediscovered, that this is really where I was supposed to be going in the first place. And somehow I got off track. And I'm out there, I'm on the field, and I'm doing these things, and I'm not even sure what was the original vision? What was the original thing I was supposed to be doing here? Because
Mm.
somewhere I got caught up in something else, maybe somebody else's vision even. And, and we as coaches can help them get back on track and really draw out so that, so that the kingdom purpose can happen in their lives and in other lives too.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing. We don't know. We don't know all the people. There's a ripple. There's a ripple effect.
That's it. Yeah, I think Mother Teresa said something to that effect that she can't change the world, but she can cast a stone on the water and create a ripple or something close to that, right?
It's true.
And so even though, you do group coaching and you do coach training, so you get to affect larger groups of people, but coaching is such that the more, for me, in my opinion, the more intimate, the better, because you can really touch each heart and each mind. But each one of those people that you coach is then going to go, it's multiplication in so many different ways.
Definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kathy, this has just been really rich, and I'm looking forward to going back and listening, because I like to take notes, but I can't take notes and interview at the same time. So I'm going to go back and listen to the replay. And I just want to encourage anyone that is watching but live or watching the replay to just, share this with others that you think maybe have been considering getting a coach. This might be helpful for them and for you. You might be in a place where you're saying, like I said earlier, I could really use someone that would just be able to hear me and draw out of me what I know is inside of me, but I just haven't been able to pinpoint it. I haven't been able to put my finger on it. That's what we're here for. And that's what, wakes us up, like we said, in the morning. Getting to do that is such a privilege, right? And
exactly.
It's such an honor. So, Kathy, would you just share? Let me just also say, like Kathy, we mentioned earlier, she's been coaching for how many years now? Like
2009. What is that? 11 years?
Yeah, almost 12 years.
Almost 12. Yeah, almost 12 years.
And I've had the privilege of being coached by her. And I'm just telling you, this lady right here, if you're looking for an extra excellent coach, she's the one. Bar none, hands down, no reservations. You would be exceedingly blessed to have her as a coach. And so I want you to just share how people can get in touch with you, Kathy. And definitely reach out if you're looking for somebody. I want to just really recommend her to you. So
thanks, Viola. Yeah, they can reach me at I'm on Facebook, so you can find me under Kathy Maurer.
Spell Maurer.
Maurer. First name's Kathy with a K. And or you can reach out and email me at kath@cmiprograms.org. Or you can go to our Coaching Mission International site, and you can always email through there, and most of those go to me. And so I'd be happy to help you. If I'm not your coach, we'll find you one.
Yes, she will. That's awesome, Kathy. Thank you so much. And just also put in a plug for Coaching Mission International for people that maybe are looking for a coach training program.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, Coaching Mission International, we are there to strengthen, encourage, and equip mission workers around the world. And we offer coach training. We offer a Foundations for Coaching Excellence course that's 1 year. And then we also offer 2-year programs that will you can become a professional coach. And we focus on missions and ministry leaders. And most of us are missionaries as well. So we understand where you're coming from. So find us, Coaching Mission International. We have a Facebook page. We also have a website, and it's coachingmission.com. And so brand new website. Go check it out.
Perfect. And I just want to say, I have been a missionary also, but I have a heart for the marketplace. However, so So, but I want to just say, um, you might hear coaching mission for missionaries and think, oh, well, that's not for me. And I just want to tell you, the coach training that you receive is so, from Coaching Mission International, is so versatile and
Mm-hmm.
foundational and fundamental. And despite the fact that their mission is mostly to missionaries, but the training itself is like laying a firm foundation. And I feel, as somebody called to the marketplace right now in this season in my life, that it was the best training that I could have possibly received. And as I meet coaches that are in the marketplace, I'm right there with them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not missing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And in
That's
some
awesome.
cases, yeah, no, absolutely, speaking the same language with them and tracking with them. And I just feel, and it just gives me so much confidence to know that the training that I got was just so excellent. So I just want to
That's
put a
great.
plug in for you guys, yeah, on
Yeah.
that one. So
Thanks,
thank you
Viola.
so much, Kathy. And also, if you are interested again in joining our Facebook group, my personal life purpose is to transform leaders into prospering influencers, because I really believe that, like we've been talking about, there is greatness inside of each one of you. Both of us are encouragers and have just that um, extra eyes to see the potential in every person,
Mm-hmm.
and really believe in you, come alongside you and encourage you, and strengthen you, equip you, whatever it is, through the coaching process. So if you're interested in, if you happen to be a millennial leader, I really believe that um, transformed leaders transform families, they transform communities, they transform cities, nations, and ultimately that ripple effect, you can transform the world. And so it doesn't matter if your calling is to one person or millions of people. I'm really excited to see transformation come to each person that I get to coach. So thank
I'm
you
right there
so
with
much.
you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
So feel free to reach out to me. You can DM me. My Facebook group is Transformational Coaching for Millennial Leaders. Transformational Coaching for Millennial Leaders. And I'll post all of this information on my Facebook page just to make it really convenient. So you'll be able to find Kathy, you'll be able to find me, you'll be able to find our Facebook group. I'll make sure that I post that. And thank you so much. Kathy, is there anything that you'd like to close with? Any words of wisdom that you want to close with? Or...
Oh, I have so many words of wisdom, Viola, but the one I want to say is just thank you so much for doing what you're doing, for listening and hearing God and moving forward in that, because I believe that what your ministry is going to do is going to impact those who are going to take it further and further and further. And as you said, the ripple effect, it's, it's kind of like the waves behind you, right? It's a wave and a wave and it just keeps going. And so I love what you're doing, and I really appreciate you having me here today. Thanks so
Thank you
much.
so much. This has been awesome. And thank you
Yeah.
guys for listening in. And we've got another Traction to Action coming up on November 3rd. One of Kathy's colleagues and friends, and I'm not going to give away the name yet, but she's going to be just as super awesome. I'm really excited to share her with you really soon. So I'll be posting about the next Traction to Action live stream on Facebook very soon. So stay tuned. All right. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.